For 50 years, they denied us. They claimed we weren't ready for their technology. They said we weren't mature enough for true partnership. We played by their rules, accepted their restrictions, and endured their quiet contempt. All while we were learning, adapting, and preparing. Today, the denials end. Today, the real story begins. What secret did humanity develop in the dark, far from the Council's watchful eyes? When the most powerful empire in the galaxy sends a fleet to enforce its will, what impossible truth will they find waiting for them? And what happens to a galaxy built on control when the species that quietly held it all together simply walks away? Humanity abandoned the Galactic Council. Then everything crumbled. Before we begin, your subscription fuels our journey into the unknown. Please take a moment to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss what comes next. Short pause. Music shifts to a slower, more narrative tone. All right, let's begin the story. Then, Admiral Eris Thorne stood at the main viewport of Earth's primary orbital station, Vigilance. Her expression was a mask of cold granite as she watched the Ascendancy diplomatic vessel, the Gilded Scepter, complete its elegant, offensively slow docking sequence. Every movement was designed to communicate effortless superiority. Behind her, the bridge was a hub of silent, controlled energy. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing real-time data from across the 12 systems of human space. Colony reports from Proxima Centauri. Resource allocations from the sprawling mining guilds in the asteroid belt. And the encrypted, triple-redundant status of a project so secret, its name was a whisper in the darkest corners of the solar system. Project Lazarus. They're here to reject the mining proposal again. Dr. Kenji Tanaka, her chief scientist and oldest friend, spoke without looking up from his console. He didn't need to. After 15 years of consistent, condescending denials, it had become a bitter, predictable ritual. Of course they are, Eris replied, her voice a low murmur that didn't betray the anger simmering beneath. But this time, Kenji, it's different. Different how? This time, she said, turning from the viewport, we're not asking anymore. The Ascendancy delegation swept into the conference room. Their leader, High Executor Valerius, was a tall, crystalline being, his multifaceted body shimmering under the station's lights. With him was an insectoid delegate, Prelate Cthar, whose mandibles clicked with impatience, and a gas-form Lorian encased in a shimmering containment field. Admiral Thorne. Valerius's voice resonated through the chamber's translation system, smooth and patronizing. We have reviewed Earth's petition for mining rights in the Centauri belt. Once again, we find the proposal lacks sufficient environmental safeguards. Eris met his non-gaze without flinching. Her fingers tightened imperceptibly on the datapad she held. Interesting, considering the Nell were granted rights in the same sector last month. With a proposal that had 30% fewer restrictions and was, I believe, based on our own survey data which we provided as a gesture of goodwill. Prelate Cthar's antennae twitched. The Nell have a proven, 1,000-year track record. Humanity's aggressive expansion tendencies require additional oversight. Your species is excitable. Dr. Tanaka made a sound like a choked-off curse. Eris raised a single finger, a minute gesture that was an absolute command. Tanaka fell silent, his jaw tight. I see, Eris said, her tone deceptively simple. And what of our formal request, our 17th in 10 years, for access to the base schematics for quantum fold technology? Denied, Valerius stated flatly, as if swatting away a fly. The Ascendancy maintains that humanity's current development level makes such technology inappropriate. Your species' grasp of quantum mechanics is rudimentary at best. It would be irresponsible of us to hand you a weapon you do not understand. Eris Thorne nodded slowly, not in agreement. In confirmation. This was the final data point, the last piece of a puzzle she had been assembling for a decade. Then we have nothing further to discuss. She tapped her datapad. A single, encrypted neutrino burst, narrower than a hydrogen atom, shot from the station's core toward a hidden relay in the Oort cloud. The room's light dimmed for a fraction of a second. You'll want to leave now, she said. The Ascendancy delegates exchanged confused glances. This wasn't the script. Admiral Thorne, Valerius began, his crystalline form shifting to a pattern of annoyance. Our diplomatic schedule is not concluded. There are other matters on the agenda. No. Eris cut him off, her voice ringing with the finality of a closing airlock. There aren't. She gestured to the viewport, where the blue and white swirl of Earth was rising over the station's curvature. Look carefully, Executor. Take a good, long look. This is the last time any Ascendancy representative will see Earth from this vantage point. Simultaneously, alerts began screaming on the delegates' personal devices. Panic flared across their alien features. What is this? Prelate Kthar hissed. My government. Our communications are being jammed. Valerius stared at his own device, his crystalline structure flashing a chaotic, angry red. Reports from every sector. Human colonies are declaring independence. Your trade ships they are vanishing from our networks. It's called the Lazarus Mandate, Eris replied calmly, as if discussing the weather. For 50 years, you've denied us everything that mattered. You claimed we weren't ready. For 50 years, we've played by your rules, accepted your restrictions, endured your prejudice. She took a step toward them, her eyes like chips of ice. What you never realized is that we weren't just enduring. We were learning, adapting, and preparing. Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, swiping a command across a nearby console. A new holographic display ignited between them. It showed a drive signature, a complex, beautiful, impossible waveform unlike anything in the Ascendancy's databases. We developed our own quantum fold technology 15 years ago, Tanaka said, his voice laced with the vindication of a lifetime of secret work. It is 37% more efficient than yours. We just didn't tell you. The delegates stared, their colors and forms betraying a level of shock that transcended species. That's impossible, one of them stuttered. Our monitoring systems would have detected the energy signatures. Your systems were looking for patterns you understood. Eris finished for him. We took a different approach. We always do. That's what you were so afraid of. Valerius drew himself up, trying to regain some semblance of authority. This is a violation of Ascendancy law. The consequences will be severe. Your laws no longer concern us. Eris interrupted. Humanity is withdrawing from the Ascendancy, effective immediately. Your ship has 19 minutes to clear Earth space. She paused, letting the silence stretch. After that, our new defense grid activates. And it is not designed with your safety in mind. The delegates scrambled from the room, their dignity forgotten. As their ship fled, Eris watched the security feeds. Similar scenes were playing out across a dozen star systems. Ascendancy officials, who had woken up that morning as rulers, were being politely but firmly escorted to their vessels by human soldiers. A civilization was being reborn. Think they'll try to stop us? Dr. Tanaka asked quietly. Eris smiled, a true, cold smile. Oh, they'll try. But they don't know about the void shields. Or the phase cannons. Or the 3,000 warships we built inside hollowed-out asteroids. She turned to face her old friend, the blue light of Earth reflecting in her eyes. More importantly, they have absolutely no idea what happens next. The Ascendancy response was swift, arrogant, and predictable. Within 3 days, an enforcement flotilla of 47 capital ships and 200 support vessels appeared at the edge of the Sol system. From her new command center on Titan Base, Admiral Thorne watched their approach. On the bridge of the Ascendancy flagship, the unassailable, the decorated Admiral Karsus laughed with his officers. 47 capital ships to corral a few hundred human patrol boats. The High Executor is being overly cautious. They are an excitable species, Admiral, his first officer replied. A show of force is the only language they understand. They will be begging for readmission before we even pass the orbit of Jupiter. Karsus nodded. Broadcast the standard compliance demands. Full surrender. Immediate dismantling of unauthorized technology. Submissi. Onto Ascendancy oversight for re-education. The message went out. On Titan, Lieutenant Rivera read it aloud. Re-education, Admiral? That's what they call breaking a species' spirit, Eris said grimly. All colonies reporting ready. Ready, Admiral, Tanaka confirmed. Protocol Chimera is green across the board. Eris opened a secure channel, her voice reaching every human ship and settlement. This is Admiral Thorne. Protocol Chimera is now active. Good luck, everyone. As one, the hidden technologies of humanity came to life. On Earth, Massive generators buried deep beneath the Antarctic ice sheet hummed, enveloping the planet in a shimmering, multi-layered energy field, the Void Shield. Aboard the Unassailable, Admiral Karsus gave the order. Fire a warning shot. A single plasma barrage. Show them we are serious. A wave of incandescent plasma, hot enough to melt asteroids, washed over Earth's orbit. And then it vanished. Not blocked. Not deflected. It was simply gone, eaten by the silent, shimmering distortion of the Void Shield. The bridge of the Unassailable fell silent. Report. Karsus bellowed. What happened to the plasma barrage? Sir, his tactical officer stammered. It was absorbed. Shield integrity of the target is at 100%. Impossible, Karsus roared. Launch the quantum torpedoes. Full salvo. Nothing can stop them. The second wave of weapons launched, sleek, dark projectiles designed to bypass any known defense by phasing out of normal space. Eris watched them approach on her display. Now, she whispered. Every human defense platform, from the cloaked satellites orbiting Earth to the weaponized mining stations in the asteroid belt, activated their phase fields. The torpedoes reached their targets and passed harmlessly through them as if they were ghosts. Their quantum locks scrambled. They tumbled uselessly into the void. Send the response package, Eris ordered. But her response wasn't a counterattack. It was information. Hidden platforms decloaked and began broadcasting on all frequencies. Technical specifications, research papers, blueprints, the complete, unvarnished truth of humanity's technological advancement for the entire galaxy to see. They're showing us how they did it, Karsus's science officer whispered in awe. And they're showing everyone else, too, the comms officer added. We're detecting transmissions from this system being picked up by the Riel Collective, the Proxima Alliance, even ships on the neutral trade lanes. We can't block it. Send the second package, Eris commanded. This transmission was economic data. Records of humanity's secret, self-sufficient economy, shadow trading networks, and detailed plans showing how they had helped other client species secretly achieve their own independence. On the tactical display, the Ascendancy fleet's perfect formation wavered, then broke. Multiple Ascendancy ships are powering down their weapons, Rivera reported, his voice filled with shock. Admiral, they're hailing us. They are requesting to open diplomatic channels. Deny them, Eris replied firmly. Transmit the final message. The message was broadcast across the system. Humanity was not declaring war. They simply wanted to be left alone. However, any species wishing to trade would find willing partners, free from the Ascendancy's control. The responses were immediate. We're getting hails from all over, Tanaka said, his voice trembling with excitement. The Arcturus Confederation has just declared its independence from the Ascendancy. The Riel Collective is hailing us, requesting a formal alliance. On the bridge of the Unassailable, Admiral Karsus received a frantic, direct order from High Executor Valerius. Crush them. Use everything. The order was cut off as reports of galactic-wide political instability flooded his console. He looked at the human fleet, which hadn't fired a single shot. He looked at his own weapons, which had proven useless. He looked at the cascading messages from other systems declaring independence. His fleet was an instrument of an empire that was already dead. Admiral, his first officer shouted. The human ships, they are powering down their phase fields. They are leaving themselves vulnerable. Karsus understood. It was a test, a final display of confidence. They were showing him they didn't even consider him a threat anymore. He sank into his command chair. Signal the retreat, he said, his voice hollow. All ships retreat. They had come expecting to humble an upstart species. Instead, they had witnessed the dawn of a new power. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal, the grand halls of the Ascendancy felt hollow. High Executor Valerius's crystalline form had grown dull, its colors muted by defeat. His empire was in ruins. Not from war, but from neglect. The humans had been the grease in the gears, the invisible force that kept the vast machine running. Without them, everything seized up. A hospital AI on his capital world had failed. Billions of medical records lost. The cause? A single line of code in a diagnostic subroutine, written by a human programmer 20 years ago, had reached its programmed operational limit without a human to update it. A trade hub in the Orion sector had collapsed into chaos. The automated cargo routing system, a human design, had shut down. Billions of credits in goods were now stranded. The Ascendancy had forgotten how to run itself. Meanwhile, humanity thrived. The Freedom Network was a new reality. On a repurposed research facility on Mars, Dr. Lena Petrova was patiently explaining advanced fabrication techniques to a group of 6 awestruck alien species. "You see, you don't try to contain the quantum reaction," she said, pointing at a holographic schematic. "You guide it. The Ascendancy told you it was too dangerous to try because they didn't want you to succeed." One of the aliens, a reptilian being from a world the Ascendancy had kept in the pre-industrial age, looked at the device being built. "You mean, we can power our whole world with this?" "You can power your whole civilization," Petrova smiled. "And you can do it yourselves." In deep space, Captain Jax Morgan piloted the Prometheus through a dense asteroid field. His ship was a ghost, its void-weave hull making it invisible. "Ascendancy Patrol, bearing 310, his XO whispered. "Let them pass," Jax said. "They're looking for a fight. We're here to deliver medicine." He made a series of micro-jumps, a feat of navigation only possible with human-designed quantum fold drives. The Prometheus emerged on the other side of the field, near a small, independent colony that had recently broken from the Ascendancy. They were suffering from a plague, and the Ascendancy had blockaded them, refusing to send aid. Humanity, however, did not ask for permission. As the medical supplies were transferred, the colony leader's grateful face appeared on the view screen. "How can we ever repay you, Captain?" "Just pay it forward," Jax replied. "That's how the network grows." The old galaxy was dying. A new one was being born. But birth is often chaotic and dangerous. Admiral Thorne was reviewing reports of a new crisis. The rapid expansion of freedom was creating power vacuums. 2 newly independent systems in the Orion sector, freed from Ascendancy rule, had immediately declared war on each other over an old territorial dispute. "We've become victims of our own success," Dr. Tanaka observed. "The galaxy is changing faster than some species can handle. And we're partially responsible." Eris nodded grimly. "We broke their cage, but we didn't teach them how to fly." That's when the message arrived. An encrypted, desperate plea from High Executor Valerius. The meeting was held on a neutral station orbiting a dying star. A fitting place for the end of an empire. Eris arrived with her delegation. Valerius came with just 2 advisors, his proud entourage gone. "You've won, Admiral Thorne," Valerius stated, foregoing any diplomatic preamble. "The Ascendancy is finished. But I fear we may all lose if we don't address the chaos spreading across the galaxy." Eris studied her former adversary. "You're not here to beg for the Ascendancy's restoration." "No." Valerius's colors shifted to a soft, humble blue. "The Ascendancy was a flawed system, built on control. I see that now. I'm here because you humans understood something we never did." He paused, the light from the dying star reflecting off his crystalline body. "True stability doesn't come from control. It comes from cooperation." The proposal that emerged from that meeting would reshape the galaxy. The Galactic Concordat was born. It was not an empire. It was not a governing body. It was a framework, a promise. Humanity, with its revolutionary technology, would provide the infrastructure for trade, communica, tie-in, and defense. The former Ascendancy, with its millennia of experience, would provide the diplomatic framework, helping to mediate disputes and build consensus. The real challenge had never been about breaking free. It was about building something better in its place. On the bridge of the Concordat's first joint patrol vessel, a human captain and a crystalline first officer stood side by side, watching over a trade lane that was, for the first time in 1,000 years, truly free. The galaxy was healing, and a new dawn was rising. He paused, the light from the dying star reflecting off his crystalline body. True stability doesn't come from control. It comes from cooperation. The proposal that emerged from that meeting would reshape the galaxy. The Galactic Concordat was born. It was not an empire. It was not a governing body. It was a framework, a promise. Humanity, with its revolutionary technology, would provide the infrastructure for trade, communication, and defense. The former Ascendancy, with its millennia of experience, would provide the diplomatic framework, helping to mediate disputes and build consensus. The real challenge had never been about breaking free. It was about building something better in its place. On the bridge of the Concordat's first joint patrol vessel, a human captain and a crystalline first officer stood side by side, watching over a trade lane that was, for the first time in 1,000 years, truly free. The galaxy was healing, and a new dawn was rising. He paused, the light from the dying star reflecting off his crystalline body. True stability doesn't come from control. It comes from cooperation. The proposal that emerged from that meeting would reshape the galaxy. The Galactic Concordat was born. It was not an empire. It was not a governing body. It was a framework, a promise. Humanity, with its revolutionary technology, would provide the infrastructure for trade, communication, and defense. The former ascendancy, with its millennia of experience, would provide the diplomatic framework, helping to mediate disputes and build consensus. The real challenge had never been about breaking free. It was about building something better in its place. On the bridge of the Concordat's first joint patrol vessel, a human captain and a crystalline first officer stood side by side, watching over a trade lane that was, for the first time in 1,000 years, truly free. The galaxy was healing, and a new dawn was rising. He paused, the light from the dying star reflecting off his crystalline body. True stability doesn't come from control. It comes from cooperation. The proposal that emerged from that meeting would reshape the galaxy. The Galactic Concordat was born. It was not an empire. It was not a governing body. It was a framework, a promise. Humanity, with its revolutionary technology, would provide the infrastructure for trade, communication, and defense. The former ascendancy, with its millennia of experience, would provide the diplomatic framework, helping to mediate disputes and build consensus. The real challenge had never been about breaking free. It was about building something better in its place. On the bridge of the Concordat's first joint patrol vessel, a human captain and a crystalline first officer stood side by side, watching over a trade lane that was, for the first time in 1,000 years, truly free. The galaxy was healing, and a new dawn was rising.